Claire was then angry to see that Lortel dared to speak so presumptuously in front of the princess. Not caring about his anger, Lortel then asked Fenia, "This time, we are on the same side, right?" So, she really wanted to give her sincere advice, don't try to use him half-heartedly, because she might end up being used instead. Claire was very upset at Lortel's attitude. He then told Fenia that she should be taught a lesson for her impudence. Hearing that, Fenia then calmed him down. That was enough. She also thought this was really confusing, she couldn't guess what Ed was doing. And now Crefin Roth-Taylor was suddenly involved in the purchase of the Sage's Scroll, but perhaps what was more to be wary of was that brave and haughty girl who wouldn't even bow to the princess, Lortel Ketchum. She also wondered if she could see into her someday, the girl who looked confused and agitated. When Lortel arrived at the Sylvania branch of the Elt store, she was surprised to see Ed and Janica sitting so close together. Seeing her coming, Janica then greeted her and asked how she was doing. Seeing her surprise, Ed just replied, "Things just turned out this way." Lortel then got annoyed at the closeness of the two of them. She then apologized to Janica. She didn't know that she would also come. She only prepared 2 glasses of Pyelanson rosemary tea, so she then asked if she was okay with cold water. But Janica knew that she had intentionally only served her cold water. She then simply said yes, and said it seemed that the tea was stacked up in her company's warehouse. But since it was a product that was sold, she didn't think she could give it to the guests. Hearing her sarcasm, Lortel confirmed it, seeing that she was only served cold water. Ed then said let him drink the cold water, she could drink the tea. Janica happily accepted it. Lortel could only feel depressed seeing the interaction between the two of them, but she then quickly calmed herself down and said, he should take the magic engineering supply first. Ed understood. After they arrived at the treasury, they were then surprised when they saw the items there. Janica was surprised when she didn't see a single grain of dust on the items as if they were all new. She also asked, didn't she say that giving away products for free was against merchant ethics? Lortel felt proud when she saw the reaction of both of them. She also belittled Janica, who could not distinguish the quality of the items. If you look carefully, these were items with many defects. Janica was then surprised to hear that, and checked again. She was then annoyed because she felt that Lortel was doing this on purpose, but Lortel just said that the most important thing was not whether the item could be sold or not, but whether it was useful to help Ed or not. Hearing that, Ed then thanked her, but receiving all this for free felt a bit wrong. And he hadn't even paid for the previous purchases. This was already the 4th time. Lortel just said to keep renewing their contract and it wouldn't be a problem. It wasn't much anyway. Hearing that, Janica then said wouldn't it be better to pay it off as soon as possible and terminate the contract. Hearing that, Lortel said that it was something that she and Ed should discuss. Janica could only be annoyed by that. While Ed himself now seemed to be immersed in something, once again, a familiar sensation ran through his body. The sensation was like swimming in water. He was overworked lately, which made him experience this often. He had to watch out for Crefin Roth-Taylor, who interfered in the process of buying the Sage's Scroll. It was still about 2 weeks away, so the pressing issue now was that he had to make a mattress for the bed. Maybe he could layer some cloth and fill it with feathers or other textile materials to make it soft. Then he needed to prepare the small deer he caught the day before yesterday. It was also time to clean the inside of the cabin again. Then there was Lucy's jerky. As Ed sank deeper into his thoughts, he then faintly heard the sound of someone calling him. The sound of the voice came from the 2 girls who were currently with him. They looked at him with concern. In the Ophelis hall, Fenia was seen, who looked brooding. He hesitantly thought about whether it was time to really admit it. The way he fished persistently in the camp, and the calm and thorough answers he gave during the Glasgow showdown. The other students said he was just a student who focused on studying, but what confused her was that Lortel warned her not to underestimate him. She also thought maybe his insight was lacking, so she decided to confirm it once again. To that end, she had ordered him to visit her at the royal residence. She then asked Claire, was tomorrow's schedule certain? What time would Ed Roth-Taylor be? But before she could finish her sentence, Claire anxiously said it seemed that he would not be able to visit for a while. Hearing that, she then confusedly asked why. She really didn't expect that Ed dared to refuse an order from a royal family. Hearing her question, Claire then said that he fainted due to fatigue. Fenia was then shocked to hear that. A system notification then appeared informing him of his current state. He was suffering from fatigue. Among the symptoms, high fever due to fatigue, indigestion, chronic fatigue, dizziness, periods of coma, difficulty breathing, deteriorating vision, magic side effects, and muscle relaxation. The system advised him to get enough rest to recover from this abnormal condition. When Ed woke up from his sleep, he then groaned in pain. He had difficulty breathing, his whole body felt heavy and his lower abdomen was hot, and when he looked down to find out the cause, he then saw Lucy who was sleeping on her back on top of him. Ed could only be silent seeing that. He also heard Lucy who was delirious, who told him to reduce the salt because it was salty. Ed was dumbfounded to see that Lucy's body was as light as it looked, or maybe even lighter. Almost to the point of wondering if she was really human, but he couldn't move at all now. When his body was overwritten by Lucy, Lucy looked like usual, so he guessed that the problem must be his body. He really felt weak. As he looked around, this seemed to be his cabin, and judging from this new blanket, he guessed it might be from the Elk store. Lucy then woke up and said that she was hungry. Hearing that, Ed was speechless. He then asked if she ever did anything other than eat and sleep. Lucy didn't answer his question, and congratulated him for waking up. She then cast some kind of magic, and released it on Ed's chest. Lucy said that his magic was a mess. He forced himself to practice magic while learning spirit magic too, and he didn't rest his body. For months he did that, and this is how it became. Hearing that, Ed then asked, did she do this while he was asleep? Lucy said that it wasn't that hard for her, but it was boring, so she fell asleep a few times. She felt like she was walking on thin ice during this time, and it was annoying, but they knew that this was necessary, so they couldn't protest much. She also asked Ed not to get sick again. Ed was a little surprised to hear her concern. Lucy said that sickness was difficult, some people even died from it. Remembering her grandfather, Glocked, who died in bed, it became difficult for Lucy to look in his direction. Ed then thanked her. He really appreciated it. While Lucy was healing him, Ed then saw someone who was about to enter his cabin and greeted him. It was Zix. Zix said that he was not sure if he was allowed to use the stove in his cabin, so he lit a fire outside, but when he went inside, he then saw a scene that could make people misunderstand. Lucy was petrified when she saw him enter. She then took her witch hat, and just left from there. She seemed to feel embarrassed. Zix could only be dumbfounded to see that. Zix was speechless seeing him close to so many girls, but he then felt that it made sense. A strong man having many women, it was not so strange. He wondered, is this the so-called openness of this civilization? He also felt that maybe he was looking at social life from too stereotypical a perspective, seeing him so immersed in his thoughts. Ed then asked why he came here. Zix replied, because Janica needed to attend classes, and Lortel came back because she could not leave her business for long. Ed also asked why his hairstyle was like that. Zix only replied that it was autumn. He then fed Ed with the soup he had just made, but when he swallowed the soup, he then couldn't stand the taste. Seeing that, Zix said, what can it be? It might taste better if someone gentle like Ika or Clara fed him, but Lortel said that any girl could not feed him. Hearing that, Ed then thought of checking the scenario as usual. He then asked, did the students of the alchemy faculty secretly grow mandragoras and cause accidents? Hearing that, Zix then remembered and confirmed it. It was Elvira, the troublemaker, but in the end, Taylor and Clebius were able to handle it quickly. Ed was relieved to hear that. Act 2, Chapter 5, Exploring the Academy, seems to be well over. Zix continued. He heard that there was a rumor that Taylor's group subdued a monster that sneaked into the Academy's underground waterways, but he and Taylor already handled that. Act 2, Chapter 7, Demon in the Waterways, seems to be completed without any problems. So now the only big event left is the negotiation of the Sage's scroll purchase. Ed then asked, how long has he been unconscious? Zix replied, it's been 10 days. He also said everyone would be surprised to see him awake. Ed was then surprised to hear that he had been unconscious for so long. Zix continued, but it seems that they won't be able to see him today. Janica still has to attend the academy at this hour, and Lortel had important negotiations to prepare for tomorrow, so she was forced to leave, but Ed didn't seem to hear what he said. Ed thought he had only been unconscious for a day or two, but he could have been asleep for 10 days. He then gulped down the soup forcibly. Zix was then confused at that, not giving him a chance to ask. Ed then called him, and said that he had to send a message to Lortel right now. He felt that there was no time left. The next day after Ed woke up, Act 2, Chapter 10, which was full of variables. The negotiation for the purchase of the Sage's scroll had begun. The ones involved are, Princess Fenia Elias Kloll, the representative of the Elt Store's leader, Lortel Ketchum, and the man who strayed from the original storyline, the patriarch of the Duke family Roth Taylor, Crefin Roth Taylor, the final boss of Act 4. With a confident smile, he then stepped onto the negotiation table.